Recording for those people that log in later and or miss today. Hello everybody. How's everybody doing? Thumbs up. Good. Um, Hopefully all of you, I think most of you guys were logged in for our conversation that we had with Libby McFalls today. Um, as always, I want to get initial responses. What did you guys think of the work? Sort of their practice, how they talk about their work.
One thing that stood out to me was how like she works on her pieces or some of them like over long periods of time. And I think that's really interesting. I'd like to like try that out
Hmm.
because I don't know, that's something different.
I think that's something that comes out of the the nature of necessity. Um, and you guys will sort of find that out, when you get outside of the academic sphere, which is that uh, time becomes a commodity uh, that is rare, at least in extended segments in the way that potentially. Hold on, I'm letting Monica in. um, at least in the way that you guys have now. Um, but you guys are all experiencing that to a certain extent now because you're taking not one course, right? So you're taking like a variety of courses, and then you're placed on deadlines for all of your projects for those courses. So it's one of those things that you guys are probably experiencing the lack of time now, but just under a different capacity. Um, I mean, how many of you guys have been given an assignment and then you have a very specific deadline, right? You have to turn it in because it has to get graded, but you don't necessarily like get to walk that project through to a point that you're actually like fully satisfied with it. Um, I would say that that's like the bulk of the creative making experience when you're in either undergrad or graduate school. Trust me, that like still follows you even if you get like a postgraduate degree or certificate. Like it's one of those things, you never feel like you have enough time. um, but I think one of the things that Libby does is, yeah, she doesn't necessarily place those finite deadlines on herself, and you start to develop this thing where you show what's ready to be shown, if that makes sense. And sometimes I an excellent example of this would I had a woman that I worked with at the University of South Florida. Her name is Noelle Mason. She has these projects that are based on like cross stitching, right? So hear me out. Like she took like screenshots of CCTV camera footage from like the Columbine massacre, and she cross stitched every single screenshot like in grayscale. This is a project that she worked on for almost a decade. It took her 10 years to finish this like cross-stitched book that is like a play-by-play of that CCTV camera footage. So I think it's a good thing to incorporate into your studio practice, this sort of like, yes, like short game. Like, like if you get accepted into a show, or let's say you applied to have a solo show at a gallery, it's good to sort of plan and make work for those shows, but it's also just good to have long-term projects as well. Something that you can always go back to. I think having something like that actually helps with that idea of like a studio practice, because it means that there's always something that you can work on. Because like even if you don't necessarily have a show lined up, there's always the other work. There's the long-term work that you can like, show up that day and maybe make a little bit of progress on that. um, and again, I think the motherhood necessity, uh, definitely created a very specific situation where you don't have the time to devote 70 hours to a drawing in one month. You have to work with what you have. Um, what else? I've known Libby for a long time, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. She actually taught me printmaking back when I was a wee undergraduate student. She taught me how to screen print. And I was making like silly self-portraits of myself as like an astronaut. And like my face superimposed on like the body of like Barbarella back in the day. You know, just for fun. What else? I think her work is kind of interesting because it's got collage aspects, which I don't necessarily know that. Have any of you guys worked in collage at all? I'm getting like comme ci, comme ça, wiggly hands. So collage is one of those things that like I never really worked in, but I actually started doing it in 2020. And I think there's a level of playfulness and there's kind of a cathartic situation that can happen when you start cutting things apart and then attempting to put them back together. I think it feeds something that I don't necessarily know that we tap into as artists oftentimes when we're creating work. And it's that sort of thread of where creativity started for a lot of us, which is like when we were a kid and we, were given like a stack of construction paper, and like old, magazines and a pair of scissors. And they were like, okay, you guys go at it. And if you haven't worked in it a whole lot, it's one of those things that like I think can help work through creative block, because collage can happen really fast, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be one specific thing. You don't go, it's like kind of like going to the thrift store, right? Like you have the most success in finding stuff at the thrift store if you don't go in with a specific item that you want to buy. It works a lot better if you go in sort of like with an open mind and an open heart, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm looking for today. And then all of a sudden you find like a 1970s vintage yellow coat and you're like, I didn't even know I needed that in my life. And then it just like appears in front of you. I think collage kind of functions really similarly to that. And it can just be really joyous. I think oftentimes in our studios, we work in a very laborsome way. And I think we forget that studio work can become more sustainable if you figure out strategies to factor in play, where it becomes fun. And that can take many different forms, but a lot of the time it's just like setting yourself up, with maybe it's a time constraint. You only know that you have an hour, and you take a look at the supplies that you have on you, and then you give yourself that challenge, which is like 1 hour piece, like start to finish. That's all you have, and that's all you can work with. And yeah, you're not necessarily going to be creating like a Picasso level masterpiece, but you never know. Again, it's not our place to judge the work we make. It's just our place to make it. What else? What do you guys like? So Libby is the other half of the McFalls power couple that teaches at Columbus State University. If you guys have never heard of Columbus State University, it's in Columbus, Georgia, and they have crazy good facilities. And I point this out because I want to piggyback on last week's conversation where we were talking about residencies and artist residencies. So Columbus State has a residency program that actually has two different types of residencies. One is for slightly more mid-career established artists, but they also have a like a 1 month residency that is completely funded and covered for sort of emerging artists. So it's something that I definitely would recommend that you guys look into and apply to, simply because I know what their facilities look like. is located, it is my alma mater for undergrad, and it is located in my hometown. And if you think that Webster is a delightful, like, studio situation, you should see this place. If you get the residency, they house you, they give you your own private studio space, and then you get a small honorarium for the time that you spend making work there. And you actually get experience. You actually can get experience as well, interacting with the student body there. So if you guys are curious about potentially, going to graduate school or becoming an educator or something like that, you would sort of be able to dip your toes into the water and have, critiques with undergraduate students, and talk not only about your work, but also, like, get to have studio visits with the students that are currently enrolled there. So, and they do it every year, which means that, you can literally put it on your calendar and you can apply each year. So I did want to advertise that, just because I think it's a wonderful resource, and they provide a lot for artists that are accepted into that residency program. So if you don't know where to start, that's a really good one. And, I know a lot of the people there, and they're all incredibly creative and bold and kind. And that's exactly the type of place that you want to participate in. What else? So we can segue into our conversation of the homework that was given to you guys. How did that go? It was a tall order for a single week. I recognize that. Did we apply to things?
So what I did was I I didn't apply to like an art related thing necessarily, like shows or galleries, but I applied for jobs because I've been trying to do that for a while and no one's hiring. But I emailed Alex in Hunt House, and so now I'm going to be a student worker.
You got it.
I did.
Excellent. Snatch for Emily. Going out there, getting that job. That's awesome. Well, and not only that looks great on your resume for when you go and apply to jobs at museums or galleries or any art related field. You can now put that as job experience. So that's only gonna, like, help you move forward. That's how you do it. You have to sort of, like, baby step your resume up to a point where you're a contender. So it's got to start somewhere. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Who else has a story for us?
So I did not apply for anything because I'm trying to get this painting done so I can enter it into an art contest. Because I started this painting like randomly in the summer, and then I was like, I really liked it and I never finished it. And I was like, I could finish it and enter it into this. And I also finally, I don't know, I've been putting this off for months, but I redid my resume and I did like a cover page and everything, and I've been putting it off for months, and I was like, I gotta do it.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I have that all done now. So
what is the competition?
I forgot what it's called, but I think it's like I literally came up on my Instagram like as an ad, and I was like, why not? It's World Poop. Hold on. World Illustration Awards, which I don't know what that is, but I was like, why not? Like, it doesn't hurt me to enter into it.
No.
Yeah.
Is it free to enter?
No, it's only like $30 though, so it's not like crazy,
Yeah,
so.
just keep in mind that those add up. So
Yeah.
Always sort of like hedge your bets. Like get some that have application fees, get some that are free. You'd be surprised by the crazy level of free stuff that's out there. I've gotten full-on solo shows before by just like submitting my portfolio to an open call And there's a lot of like galleries and like artist coalition spaces that will literally do an open call for a solo show. And so you can literally say, hey, how about me? And then you show them like what your work is like, not necessarily the work that you're going to show, but you basically pitch it and say like, I would like to do a solo show. And a lot of the times those spaces don't even require you to pay an application fee at all. So big things can come out of free, which is always like a good reminder. And it helps to sort of counterbalance the things that have application fees. So like you feel like you're at a nice even keel if you've got a couple of irons in the fire, some of which you've paid for, some of which you hadn't. And then you start to get, you start to get acceptance in some capacities, obviously rejection in others. We've talked about this. That just comes with the territory. But yeah, I find that I don't take the rejection as hard if I've applied to multiple things and I haven't necessarily paid for all of them. Simply because like I work in the arts. I do not make $1 million. So I have to be mindful of that. And then, then when I do get the rejections, they don't hit as hard. And I'm able to sort of like come back from it a little bit easier. Jacob says that he's applied for a multimedia illustrator job with the Army from Indeed, and also applied for a lease at a new apartment. Is this in California, Jacob? No. Okay, well, new apartment here. That's great. Let's see. We've got Liv is saying applied for a non-art job. That's okay, Liv. You got to pay the bills. And also jobs in the arts right now are a little bit, there's a lot of places that are on hiring freezes right now. So I do want to bring attention to that. And so what's happening is that you guys are going to be applying to jobs, and there are less of them in the art and design field, which means that they're going to be more competitive, and that's perfectly okay. The art and design field kind of like ebbs and flows in terms of like what's going on really in a macro sense in the world. So sometimes there's more jobs, which means obviously the competition is lesser, and sometimes there are less jobs, which means that the competition is higher. But that doesn't mean that we have to like stop trying. And you should never lose hope, because you never know. You could be the exact perfect fit for, what is out there. So it's always worth, giving it your best shot. But at the same time, Liv, you got to pay bills. Everybody's got to pay bills. That is the unfortunate situation of being an adult. Nobody ever tells you that. I'm telling you right now. But it's fine. I would say ultimately, like, you want to potentially find something that at least brings you joy, right? So even if you're applying to non-art related jobs, if you can, there are so many jobs out there that you wouldn't think are like in the art field or in the design field, but they can still have an aspect to creativity to them. They can still have an aspect of play. And those are sort of the best jobs that you would want, where you don't dread going in all of the time, but that you actually enjoy the people that you work with and for. Okay, so in the chat, Jacob is sharing a link if anybody is looking for a specific, let's see, he is literally giving you the link so you can also apply to be the multimedia illustrator. So Jacob is not afraid of competition. That is very, very sweet. Let's see, Kennelwood also advertises pet photographers, so I may approach them about my pet portraits. Maybe some art related, maybe something art related will come out of it. Absolutely. Again, as we learned from Emma Vidal, you don't know until you ask, right? So it never hurts. Like, again, if we can just like pull the Band-Aid off of the rejection, train, like, and just get it to where we allow it to just roll off of our shoulders very easily. um, the more you apply to, the more opportunities you might get. And it never hurts to ask, even if something isn't being advertised. The worst thing they can say is no. And the best thing that you get out of that situation is you've at least made another contact and you've met another person, and they know that you are bold. And whenever they do need that person to do that thing, they're going to remember that you already asked. So, Jade, you applied for some scholarships? What kind of scholarships?
It was just whatever I could find on like the different scholarship websites. It wasn't anything that like needed an essay or anything, more of those like enter to win type of things, since I didn't have a lot of time, but I plan on doing some of the bigger ones later.
Nice.
I applied to a art an art show in Kansas City. So I mean that's kind of where I want to end up, is Kansas City. So I was kind of looking there. And it's a juried like undergraduate exhibition. So
Perfect. Yeah. So that's you completely identifying the box that you fit in. And I think it's, listen, I'm all about shooting for the stars, right? You can't win if you don't play. However, I think there is something when you're first starting out and applying to this kind of stuff to understand. Sorry, you guys. To understand, like the things that, to be real with yourself and to apply to the things that you actually have a shot at. So like, there are a lot of open calls out there that you won't be qualified to apply for post graduating. So you have this window of time that you can apply to certain things. And so I think it's really smart if you identify what that window is and then start trying to take advantage of the things that sort of lie within that window, because you'll get 2 years out of your undergraduate education and then you literally aren't allowed to apply to those anymore. So you got to kind of like get in while the getting is good. And it's the same thing for like, there's a bunch of opportunities where like you can only apply to them if you are currently enrolled in like a graduate program, or like you have recently graduated out of the program. And so all of those designations and things can be attached to different opportunities. And it's good that you're starting to like identify, that window for yourself. What else? Alex, were you able to get in on the application train this week?
I didn't really apply to anything, but I actually took the opportunity to talk with someone who like kind of interviewed me to do some graphic design stuff for him. And it's for like the St. Louis like girls soccer academy, and like social media posts for their college soccer scholarships, like announcing what school they're going to and stuff.
Nice.
So
how do you think that went?
I think it went good. I kind of showed some stuff that I've done, like social media stuff before, and like showed kind of like some potential options. I emailed them to him after. So I think it's gonna work out. It's someone who is like a distant, like, what's it called? Like he kind of knows my dad a little bit because my dad's a soccer coach. So that's how I kind of got the opportunity. So I hope it works out. I need extra money, so.
Well, it never hurts to sort of, work the connections that you have, right? That's the whole idea of networking, is slowly building your network outwards like a big spider web. Yeah. Did he give you any inclination of when he was going to get back to you?
So he just said like he would stay in touch with me, and I've just been like following up on his email, and I'm waiting for him to reply to me. But he, I don't know, he knows my dad, and I don't know, I feel like it's kind of going to be like kind of like a, I don't want to say it's like just because he knows him, but I kind of like based on how we talked, I kind of feel strongly that it's going to work out. So
That's good. When was that, if you don't mind me asking?
that was like, let's see, was it last, what was it like, what's today, Friday? It was Tuesday. I think it was on
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay. I would say if you haven't heard back from him by this upcoming Tuesday, it never hurts to just write a friendly follow-up email thanking him for you know, giving you the time and talking about your portfolio.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes people need a little bit of a nudge.
Okay, right.
It's well, I know it's incredibly nerve-wracking to do that too. Like you don't want to like be bothersome, right? You don't want to like annoy somebody, but like usually like it's perfectly allowed to write a formal follow-up email within a week.
Right.
And then you don't do anything.
Right. Because
You get like one follow-up opportunity and then you just got to be quiet. And
I get it. I know how it is because like I get those calls. Like if I put my phone number on something, like people who work on like commission based, like I like did something for my insurance, and now I have all these like car insurance people like calling me. And,
oh
like,
my
I
God!
get it.
I have like literally every single health insurance representative calling me nonstop, and they all have Georgia numbers, which is real weird. So I have gotten a phone call from every single town in Georgia, I feel like, over the past week. So, well, excellent. I hope that works out.
Thanks.
I mean, that's real life experience. That is essentially a job interview. So I'd count that. That all counts. This is what we're working towards, you guys. Sydney, were you able to apply to anything?
I didn't really apply to anything. It was more like an opportunity came to me and I took it.
Okay.
I received an invitation a little while ago to join Tau Sigma National Honor Society, so I did that.
Awesome. I'm unfamiliar with Tau Sigma. If you could explain what that is.
It's for those who are transfer students.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I transferred last semester here.
Awesome. Well, I know you and I have sort of talked about how like this is an untraditional sort of start for you at Webster, and that it's like been hard to sort of connect and get to know people, considering that the vast majority of your classes have been remote or online. So that sounds like an excellent opportunity to potentially branch out.
Yeah, my dad was saying that too.
Yeah, because I imagine they're probably going to be doing various, granted, remote Zoom related events. But I imagine they would be doing probably like mixers / get-togethers, get to know yous.
Probably like on a national scale, maybe.
Oh.
Because I reached out to for our school's like advisor for that, and she said that our chapter isn't active, unfortunately. It's just more of like an honorary thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if like we got enough students who wanted to like make it active again, it can be.
Well, I mean, you're potentially new at Webster, so you've got all the time in the world if that is a project that you decide that is something that you want to work on.
Yeah. If I know more members then that go here.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and you can always reach out and try to ask if there's a list of active members or honorary members within the Webster community, and then potentially reach out to those people. Again, cold calling or cold emailing never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
They will either read the email or not, and they will respond or not. So I do want to remind everybody, we are having our first event with the Hunt Gallery tonight. I don't know if you guys are aware of the fact that we have an opening this evening. Has anybody heard anything about about the virtual opening that we have. The information was put in the chat during the lecture, but if you didn't have the chat open, you probably didn't see it. So they're doing a virtual opening of the Hunt Gallery's upcoming exhibition. It's called Rebecca Olson, River of Consciousness. The show card, I believe, has been emailed out by Ryan Gregg, as well as the link for pre-registering and attending tonight's opening. So it's going to be tonight at 5 p.m., which is a little bit earlier than we normally do those events, but the person is actually going to be joining us from overseas. So there's a bit of like a time change. So that's why we're actually having it earlier. I forget what country she's going to be like zooming in from, but Italy maybe. But yeah, so that looks like it's going to be really good. And I highly recommend that you guys attend that. Simply because we don't get to have as many openings and exhibitions as we normally do in the Hunt Gallery. And I know Jeff has been working really hard to keep programming and everything up for that space. And I think they've been doing a really good job in terms of like, yes, we can't see it in person, but they've been doing a really good job in terms of creating a virtual exhibition that at least somewhat mirrors the same experience of getting to sort of look at the pieces. And really, we have the benefit of hearing directly from the artists about the pieces sort of in real time as we're looking at them, which I feel like that rarely ever happens. You don't walk into a museum and like the artist is standing right there. And you certainly don't get the opportunity to ask the artist a specific question about their artwork. I mean, it happens occasionally, but rarely. So I do want to urge you guys to take advantage of that this evening. Okay, so we've got people that applied to stuff, people that got things, congratulations. And then people that are sort of working towards those applications. Monica, how is the painting coming for that application? Is there a specific deadline to apply to that opportunity?
I think it's the 23rd, so.
You got a few days.
Yeah. This is okay. It's okay. I feel like when you're working on something and then you're just kind of get to a point where you're doing random stuff and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Do you need input?
No, I'm just like, I kind of want to like do this and like play around with it and not be super serious. And then I'm just trying to make my brain like, don't judge it so hard. Just keep on working on it.
Don't judge it at all.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, opportunities and exhibition opportunities and competitions and stuff like that, they're an excellent place to experiment because you can try something new and then throw it out into the ether and see how people respond.
Yeah.
And like, you never know, like this thing that you're like really worried about or concerned, like might be a thing that like gets you a show or gets you an award. And so I know there's a lot of fear attached to trying out those new things, but like it can lead to good stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I realized like getting back to this last night that I haven't finished a painting in like 8 months. And I'm like, maybe I should try to finish a painting because I always just start new random little things and then I stop after a day. And I'm like, maybe I should like sit down and spend time with something for a while.
Dedicate to one specific piece.
Yeah.
Nice. Are any of you guys currently prepping for BFA or BA shows? If I could get.
I'm prepping for the BFA review, and like I'm kind of confused on what I should do because I switched my my major last semester. So what I'm pursuing now is very like I only have so much work to show for that.
Okay.
So I don't know.
What are you pursuing now? Like, what did you change from to?
Well, I was an illustration major. Well, I'm finished with my illustration certificate, so I'm still like about illustration and stuff. But I am a graphic design major now, so I don't have as much graphic design work to show as I would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the illustrative work cannot be folded into the graphic design portfolio?
Some of it can. I'm making a project right now to like do something for it, but I don't know. I just wish I had more work combining the two.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna like make new projects for myself because I'm kind of doing that now.
That kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty smart strategy, I feel like if you're seeing sort of a hole where it's looking disparate, trying to blend that space. Because again, these designations are somewhat arbitrary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is graphic design? What is illustration? Like, one could argue, oh, that's enough. One could argue that they are, you know, they could be argued on either side depending on how you argue it. So illustration could be graphic design. Graphic design could also be considered illustration. It just depends on, you know, which side you choose to fight that day. So just keep that in mind when you're sort of going into that conversation with people. Like, the designations are not finite.
Yeah.
And the definitions are blurry of all of these designations and all of these focuses. You know, painting can be sculptural, sculpture can be painting. All of those lines sort of began to be blurred with postmodern and contemporary art, and they continue to be blurred to this day. You guys will give me 1 second. I have to bribe my dog again. Oh. So Jacob, you said that you're doing BFA review or data critique this semester? Review. Okay. Both. All of the things. Is everybody feeling fully prepped for that? Does anybody need outside counsel?
I like, are we supposed to meet with our advisors beforehand and have them kind of look over things?
For BFA review?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about BFA review. I know that if you're taking the course with Brian, which is like the course that's helping everybody get ready for BFA exhibition, I know he's having everybody seek out a mentor, or I think 2 mentors, to advise on their projects as they sort of like get ready to sort of post the exhibition this semester. But I personally, just from my experience, I don't think it would hurt if you want to if you want to reach out to them sort of leading up to it. It's like an excellent way to kind of like psych yourself up. And just sort of like get any sort of glaring comments or criticism potentially already stated with your advisor or someone, or even just if it's not like your advisor, but just one of your professors that you like respect their opinion. You know, you can definitely reach out to them and say like, hey, I need like a quick 5 minutes. And then kind of go over what you're thinking leading up to the review. And I mean, I'm sure they would be happy to give counsel just sort of leading up to it. If you want to sort of make sure that there's nothing that needs to be addressed ahead of time. I like to be prepared. So I'm always that person that's like, hey, can you look at this? real quick before I send it in. So I think that definitely would help in terms of like quelling the nerves. I don't know if you guys get nervous about doing the reviews or if it's like a stressful scenario.
I'm just like not sure. I guess I like should look into it more on like the Canvas page for it and stuff. But like I remember at the info meeting, they're like, we want to see like a variety of works, and I'm like, I'm not sure, if I should focus because I'm a painting major. I don't know if I should focus primarily on paintings or just have like a wide variety.
I'm not really sure because I've never actually sat in on any of the BFA reviews. So I don't really know exactly what they're looking for, but I think essentially they're looking to see that you're making progress in your coursework. So I think potentially it could go either way. So if you have been primarily taking like painting classes, and that's been your primary focus, and that's the work that you feel the best about, for sure. I think it's always a good strategy to like put your best foot forward. Because that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for you to be getting to that final level where you're going to be ready for, your thesis show. See that you're sort of working towards that. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with showing work from like a variety of different courses that you've been taking, simply because that's the work that you've been working on recently. And if you're anything like me, your three-dimensional work potentially is going to have ties conceptually, at least in some, forms or another, to your paintings, to, let's say, like your photography work. There's usually a thread of meaning or of interest that is directly tied to you that actually extends to the various different media. Whether you identify it or not, it's probably there.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because I was also like, I know this is just like the review and it's sort of kind of like just seeing where you're at and your progress. And I was like, I wasn't sure if we're supposed to have like a concept like clearly established yet, or if this was kind of just, seeing how things are going.
I mean, listen, a concept never hurts.
Yeah.
Like, we love a good concept, but like I think it's one of those things, we as y'all's educators also understand that we're not in a normal year. We get it. So I think primarily they're probably going to be approaching it as like a check-in, just seeing like where you guys are at. That way we can sort of better prepare how we approach you guys moving forward to sort of get you where you need to go. So if you think of it less as like less of a sort of us versus you situation, and more as a diagnostic tool that we're using to provide you guys with the proper conceptual like guidance that you need moving into like your final semesters, like that's really what it is. Like I highly doubt that, we're going to be being like, ugh, Emily's just not there yet. Like, no, like I don't foresee that being the scenario, especially not this year, because like, my God, I don't know if any of us are there yet. It's more like we are present, but also simultaneously juggling and dropping all of the things that we're juggling at all times. So keep in mind, we all have the capacity for empathy, and we'll be applying that through that process as well. So don't get too caught up on it. Lynn, if you're saying you don't feel like you have enough work, or you're in that limited work sort of scenario.
Yeah, since I also like changed my major really late on, I just don't I just feel like I don't have enough work, especially for both reviews.
What is-
So
Can somebody please explain the difference between like data review and BFA review to me?
I really don't even know. And I'm
I think I know. I think data review is like, I know some people do it the same semester, but I think it's like intended to be like the first semester of your sophomore year. And it's like kind of just seeing like your core work from the classes. And then I guess BFA review is supposed to be just kind of the next step before, like, to see even more how you've progressed. So that's what I think is weird when people do them the same semester, but that's what I was gonna have to do, and that's why I'm like, I got pushed a year back, is because Ryan was like, oh, you have to do BFA review junior year before you graduate. And I had transferred, and he was like, oh, well, you won't have enough work to show from Webster because I had only done like creative strategies.
Yeah.
Weird.
Okay, so there is this question of having enough work. Okay. Did they give you guys an indication of like how many pieces to show?
Yeah, 10.
10?
Yeah.
I think
it's
it's, isn't it also like 10 pictures and you're not supposed to like go over that too?
I think I remember with data critique, I think you can have like more pictures to like show, like if you're showing something like 3D, to kind of show it in like a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I
Only
remember
they give you like two shots if
Yeah.
it's three-dimensional work.
but I remember there's something about like when you lay it out on the page, like no more than I think 2 like images per page.
Do we have a finite date for those? So Jacob's saying 5 to 10 images. Is there when are the reviews happening?
BFA review is March 19th.
Okay, so coming up. And then data, is that at the end of the semester? Yes. Okay. Okay, well this is a good thing to know, because I was kind of trying to figure out what we should do for homework this week. And I think that since I already had you guys sort of looking into opportunities and potentially working towards, let's say, like updating the resumes and getting things prepped for actually pursuing those opportunities. I think since this is coming up as a level of concern for a large amount of you guys, I'd like for you to put together portfolios of images. And so this is going to be a chance for you guys to start to strategize for those reviews. And for those of you that aren't doing a data critique or a BFA review, this is just going to be an exercise in portfolio building, which is constantly going to be a part of your artistic practice. You should always be trying to sort of narrow down and have a set of images and image information. So like dimensions, materials, all of the things that like you see whenever we watch the artist presentations. They will give you the image, and then they normally give you all of the indexed information about the piece. Titles, again, we heard from Libby McFalls today about the importance of titles and how much they can actually bring to the piece. I know in undergrad, it's like you really, if you're anything like me, you want to get as far away from titling your work as possible, but try to look at it as an opportunity to bring something more to the table. And we can sort of talk about that if you guys are having any questions with titling, with how to set up, documenting your pieces. We can talk about that. How to create an appropriate image list. All of these things are a very important tool in the artist toolbox in terms of being ready and prepared to apply to opportunities. and to set yourself up to where it's easy, or well, not easy, but easier. You'll have literally a file like on your desktop that already has 10 images ready to go, and so when they ask for images of your work, you already have it, and it's ready for those applications. So I think that it would be a really good data is February 26th. Oh my God, that's in like a week. That's in a week, you guys. Okay, yeah, let's do it. So let's do a portfolio of 10 images. All right, so the people that told me that they don't have enough work, how are you feeling about that number 10? You got it? Liv, you got it? You can make it happen? All right, well, we're gonna see what happens. So a portfolio of 10 images. I would like for you guys to also create an image list, which is essentially literally just a Word document. I usually will copy and paste a tiny, tiny image of the piece of artwork, and then I put the piece information, the title, the dimensions, the materials, and the year that it was made. You guys might want to categorize everything, maybe the class that it was made for. And yeah, I usually just number them and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then just have an indexed image list, and then a file that has all of the hopefully well-documented pieces. Does everybody feel good about their level of documenting their artwork? Yes. Okay. If you need more information on that, please let me know. Yeah, I think that'll be a good stepping stone. Again, it's like I ask you guys when. Yes, Jacob, I will be putting that on Canvas. I'll put it on Canvas, and then I'll try to give you guys like maybe an example of like an image list that I've done, if that helps, just so you can sort of see the format. I always think that it's really helpful if I see how somebody else has formatted things, and then I adjust it accordingly. At least when I was starting out, it's like I'd never made an index artist image list before, so it kind of took me a while to figure out how to do it. So I'll upload one for you guys just so you can use it as reference material. And yeah, essentially next week is just going to be like show and tell, if that sounds good. So you guys can ask, we can do it. It's like a dry run, right? So we're trying to get out any of the heebie-jeebies ahead of time. And for everybody who doesn't have data critique or BFA or BA review, this is just practice for something that you're going to have to do in the future. And it's a chance to get feedback from other people. So, this isn't like technically like a studio art course, but you are in this class with these people, and we meet every single week. So it's an opportunity to get feedback on your work, which is always good. Does that sound feasible to do within this week? All right. I'm trying to approach when you guys have deadlines and then help you guys get to those deadlines also with this course. Rather than give you a bunch of reading homework that prevents you and stresses you out even more. Although we will get back to reading soon. I think I have another reading in this book that I'm going to give you guys, but not this week. I'll save it for later when data critique is over after the 26th. Does anybody have any questions? Departmental wise or others? No? All right. Well, we're actually closing up pretty early this week, aren't we? What do you guys need? You guys need optimism? Should we start a separate discussion where we just like share studio songs and tracks that are working? You want me to start a separate discussion that is just a playlist? Cool. I'm gonna do it. I know, especially when you're on a intense run and you're trying to work up towards deadlines, you're spending a lot of time in your studio and it's hard to find motivation. So I find music to be one of the most motivating things in my studio. So we will do that. And that way everybody can kind of share like what they're vibing on. Does that sound good? Cool. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions for me today, I'm not going to waste any more of your time and you guys can get back to work. Sound good? All right, cool. We've got one lecture next week, and I, as always, will be sending you guys the lecture link. We've got, I believe, let me double check. I believe we have one of our, yeah, we do. We have one of our fellow adjunct faculty giving a talk next week. We've got Lola Agbara. She is new to the Webster community and works in a variety of forms, but I believe has worked in like collage and photography and ceramics. So again, we are hearing from one of our adjunct faculty members who also happens to be a polymath and good at more than one thing, which I always recommend. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one, and I hope you guys will enjoy it as well. As always, if you have any questions or anything comes up over the weekend, I check my emails, so just let me know. And yeah, and if any of you guys, if you're, you know, leading up towards your reviews or anything like that, and you just want an extra set of eyes, let me know. You know, I'd be happy to set up a meeting with you guys. I cannot guarantee that my teaching assistant Clementine will not also be in said meeting, but you know, that's just par for the course. But yeah, I'm around. I'm available. If you guys need me, I'm here. So awesome. Okay, I will update Canvas and put all of that information on there for you guys, just so you have some reference materials of stuff to look at and sort of a guidepost. I typically try to get all of that stuff updated on Sunday evening, so be on the lookout. It should be up there by then. Okay. All right, guys. Godspeed. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye.